Welcome to the Northern Business Podcast. Each week we'll be talking to people active in the business community and the economy about the big issues driving growth in the north of England. We're sponsored by Virtue Motors, one of the UK's largest motor retailers. Check out its website at virtuemotors.com. I'm Graham Robb, owner of Recognition PR. We help scores of businesses promote their products and services. Some are featured on this podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Today in the studio, we have Louise Horsefield, Head of Fundraising and Engagement at the Percy Hedley Foundation, a disability charity based in North Tyneside. And down the line, we have Martin Bleasby, Chief Operating Officer at EnergyForce, a sustainable energy company based in Beverly, East Yorkshire. And later, my colleague Joss Havakin will be talking to NE1 in its bid to actually renew the Business Improvement District in Newcastle. Now, let's start, shall we? And ask you, please, if you're listening or watching this weekend, to forgive my sore throat. It's hay fever. It's got to my throat, and I'm a bit croaky as a result. But I'm sure we'll get through it. And let's start down the line with Martin Bleasby from EnergyForce. Martin, I start the conversation by looking at the fact that at the end of this week, the 30th of June, the energy price guarantee goes away. The energy tariff that's set by the government, the way in which maximum prices can be charged for energy falls, but also, less advertised, the green energy levy starts to be reapplied to bills. What will this mean for bills of businesses in the north of England?
Well, essentially, new contracts is going to see a slight increase. I mean, we had some protection from the government, from some of the crazy electricity prices. You know, we had some clients signing up at £1.10 per kilowatt hour. But you know, obviously that the some of the government support enabled that to bring that down. But that's now going, and you know, obviously the green levy is the starting to apply that coming back. So we are going to see an increase in electricity contracts, which is a need for why businesses need to be looking at energy security and what they can do to try and have some protection against increased electricity prices going forward.
Now, you've started this business that's been going for quite a while now, and it's an SME business based in East Yorkshire. And it is designed to help privately owned businesses, particularly chains where you've got more than one venue, one building, to generate their own electricity and use it to offset some of the expense that the regular tariff incurs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, solar PV, it enables a business to generate their own green electricity, which provides a number of benefits to them. Not only is it a good CSR for the business, it also enables them to have some, obviously self-generation, protection from increased energy prices. As an industry, we're now looking at something called the levelized cost of energy when buying solar PV. And the levelized cost of energy basically takes into account the cost of the solar, the initial capex of the solar investment, the ongoing maintenance and running costs, etc. And over a 25-year period, the levelized cost of energy for that production is equating to from anything from 5 to 7 pence.
Wow, that is fantastic. Oh yeah, I know that the range is from 30 pence up for a kilowatt unit, so it's significant that. Now, when I first came across you, because our sponsor, Virtue Motors have maybe nearly 200 different sites across the UK selling cars. But they decided to tackle the energy issue so that they can A, have stability, and B, have security. So is that kind of business with multiple sites the type of business that you can make the best efficiencies for?
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, the bigger business group perspective with multi-sites, the problem is compounded. Obviously, you've not just got one site with increased energy costs on one site. You're timesing that by multiple, potentially 200, 300 sites. It's relevant to any business is solar PV and the protection it can help provide against increased electricity costs. But obviously, from group perspectives, obviously that's just compounded and makes the benefit greater. And also, it's essential really to try and offer some sort of stability in this marketplace with energy. It's a significant part of an overhead to a business now.
Now, I've got some experience in solar panels in my domestic setting. I bought a house in 2016, and it's a relatively large house, probably a bit too big for me, actually. I'm rattling around it. But the electricity bills were like £200 a month. So I put solar panels in, and I put 12 panels in, and I got the electricities down to about £160 a month. Not much saving. And then realised, of course, I'm out during the day. I'm not actually using the electricity, and the feed-in tariff I was getting to sell at the grid wasn't that advantageous because the house is a listed building and doesn't have an EPC. I then put a battery in. The result is my electricity bills are 60 quid a month. The solar feeds the battery releases the energy when I'm at home in the evenings. I had thought, though, that solar wouldn't be relevant because we've got too many long dark months. Just at 6 months of the year, it wouldn't be relevant. Do you find that my experience can be applied to business and that solar can be made relevant?
Yeah, I mean, in a domestic setting, obviously if you're out of the house during the day, you've generally just got the base load of the property to cover it if you haven't got battery storage. So you're producing all this energy during the day and it has to go somewhere, and it's just going and supplying the grid.
But businesses are open during the day.
Exactly, and that's where businesses obviously can benefit the greatest. It fits the solar profile. Yes, we have, we have the seasonal differences. Obviously, your January, December being the worst months. Obviously, coming back to your July being the better months, longer light hours, etc. But solar's very easy to predict. It does what it says on the tin. It's a proven technology, been around for many, many years now. It can save businesses, probably 50-60% of their electricity cost.
You quoted some prices or figures at the beginning, but nevertheless, a business still has to dip into their pocket and fund the installation of the panels. And the question then is, what's the repayment time for that investment? Is that the only way of doing it, or are there other ways of funding the panels? Because you're going to be talking about lots of panels and the installations you do. It's not like my domestic with 12 panels.
So ultimately the payback at the moment, as it currently sits, you're looking at anything from 3 to 4 year payback for a system designed to meet your usage. And I say that to meet your usage, if you start to add batteries, etc., you start to increase the capex, which obviously produce a longer payback. With regards to funding, obviously we'd never dreamt of having a 3 to 4 to 5 year payback in solar back in 2010 when the industry first started. It was more looking at 7-8 year payback, which is out of the payback investment criteria for many businesses, especially the bigger businesses. So what we're finding is obviously bigger businesses are finding the cash, sourcing the cash themselves, etc., because it fits within their sort of payback criteria. Alternatively, there's other investment and financial offerings such as PPA agreements, power purchase agreements, where it can be put on the roof and obviously pay back through the energy they use. And then obviously there's traditional funding mechanisms from the bank as well, such as asset-based financing.
Now, this is a great time to be in an energy business that helps security and savings. What other kind of products are coming to the fore that businesses are looking at? And also land and building owners, because people who are leasing out a building that doesn't cost as much to run may be able to get more rent as a result.
Yeah, I mean, obviously solar PV is the obvious, but moving away from solar PV, electric vehicle charging is very big. Just to put into context on our installs, we've done 400 electric vehicle charge points over the last 6 months, predominantly to the dealership sectors. But what that's telling us is obviously these cars are getting sold. The dealerships are requiring this charging mechanism to move the vehicles on. So these are going out into the general population. Obviously, they need destination charging being somewhere where they're going to go, and the driver's obviously, not relevant and not waiting around with the vehicles, such as workplace, leisure, hotels, retail sectors. And obviously what we're finding is, the industry is now starting to really uptake on that and also recognize some investment opportunity in returns what they could have by selling on their electricity for charging vehicles, especially if you're combining that with solar PV. Potentially you've got some excess generation, where you can obviously feed that in as well, and obviously it can contribute to a payback on solar PV.
Martin, you're based in East Yorkshire, but have you got a national footprint? Are you going all around the country? And have you got a decent group of engineers to do it?
Yeah, we operate nationally. We've got over 50 engineers, working throughout the UK. Because not only do we install, obviously we also do have a comprehensive operations and maintenance program. We're not fit and forget. We build long-lasting partnerships with our clients. And this technology, does need an upkeep. It does need regular maintenance, etc. And we have teams throughout the country, being able to support that as well.
Well, Martin, thanks for joining us. We've got a program with different guests talking about different things today. And joining me in the studio is Louise Horsefield. Louise, you're head of fundraising and engagement at the Percy Hedley Foundation. Now, for people in the northeast of England, it's quite a well-known charity. This podcast goes around the whole of the north. What do you do, and what benefits do you bring to society?
So we support people with disabilities, mainly with complex needs, children, young adults, and adults of any age. We do that basically through providing special education. We've got 2 special schools, a college, an adult learning programme, and 4 specialist adult residential homes. So our ethos is to help people live the best life possible. We just turned 70 this year. So we were founded by a group of parents in 1953. How we support them to live their best life has changed, obviously, in those 70 years, because our understanding of disability has changed massively. But we've gone from supporting 12 people on the first day to 600 people every week now. And we employ just under 1,100 people.
So a big employer in your own right. Now, this is a business podcast. We're very interested in the work that you do for your users and helping people with disabilities. But let's slightly put it in a business context. First of all, how do you engage with the business community in your patch? What kind of best routes do you do to make sure that businesses are using their corporate social responsibility in your direction?
So there's various different ways that businesses can support charities. So obviously things like volunteering, that's becoming increasingly popular. So many large organisations now offer their staff volunteer days. And what we're trying to do as a charity is look at where we might not have the resources and the expertise, and how do we partner up with organisations who do have those and use their CSR to help us. So as an example, obviously you've just been talking to Martin, charities tend to be in old buildings that haven't necessarily had the spare money to be able to invest in sustainable energy and things, but we're obviously facing the same challenges as every other business in terms of rising energy costs, inflation, etc. So I'm sure Martin would come and have an idea of how we build a...
Visit the charity out with any kind of settle or feed it.
We over the years, yes.
And obviously, not just saying give us some free solar panels, but even just this skill and expertise to look at how we've got 8 different locations across. So what might be the best approach to do that? We also have a fleet of vehicles. So part of what we do is we transport our beneficiaries around. They go out lots of different places. So we're starting to look at now how might we replace our fleet with electric vehicles, etc., when we're replacing them going forward. But lots of different ways that businesses can support us with using their skills and expertise. So we have people coming in and doing, things like decorate and tidying up spaces, but we also have people coming and doing some marketing work. We've got some people delivering some IT training for our staff. There's quite a lot of different ways that we're trying to tap into that sort of volunteer aspect. Obviously, some businesses have gone down the route of the do charity of the year. Some businesses give a proportion of their profits to charities, and you can apply for funding through that. We also have events that businesses can support. So if you're doing team building or you're doing some corporate networking, why not do it in an event that supports a charity at the same time? You get a double benefit.
And of course, your charity, and I say this in the Northeast because I know people who work with you, does very much support its corporate givers.
Yeah, so we've got some good network. We've got a campaign that was done by a corporate partner, which is Helen's Group. They've just been nominated for a charity award, which is fantastic. We're trying to recognise the corporate partners that we have. Also, for us specifically in terms of our agenda, we are trying to encourage workplaces to be as inclusive as possible. So there's different ways that we can support businesses to invest in that. And we're also specifically looking for businesses that would be open to the idea of creating work placements for our beneficiaries. So looking at job carving and people who are open to looking at a job role that would play to the strengths of our service users.
Now, your service users can quite often be severely disabled. You have lots of different people with different needs, don't you? But if I expand it to a more general question, unemployment is low. Even in the northeast of England, north of England in general, but in the northeast of England, it's now below the national average, which is unheard of in my work life. But vacancies are up. The government will want and is trying to look at encouraging people with different employment needs who are not employed, maybe they have disabilities or illnesses, back into the workplace. I suppose that needs employers to have a different attitude.
Yeah, it does. It requires employers to be open to the idea of being flexible around roles and how you play to people's strengths, and thinking about the work environment and how do you adapt the work environment to be inclusive to people with different needs. And that can be people's complexity of needs is on a spectrum, isn't it? So some people might not be as complex, but they still need an adjustment in the environment so that they can work to the best of their ability.
Is there help for employers? If one was to employ somebody who is wheelchair bound or blind or has a disability that needs the business building to change or the IT equipment to be adapted, is there any help that employers can gain from outside from the government?
Yeah, there's a fund called Access to Work. So if you are looking to employ someone who might need some adaptations, whether that's some software or something physical to the building, you can apply through Access to Work for funding to help you make those changes to get that person into the role.
Well, Louise, it's great to hear you being so positive, both about your own beneficiaries and client group and also about how you interact with business. And I hope the charity goes from strength to strength for another 70 years. Thank you very much, Louise.
Okay.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you to Martin. And now he's out and about again. Over to my colleague, Joss Havakin.
Thanks, Graham. I'm in central Newcastle today for the launch of Anyone's new consultation document. Anyone is the business improvement district for central Newcastle, and it's going out to its members, the businesses here, to get agreement on its ambition for the next 5 years. I caught up with Stephen Patterson to find out a little bit more.
Today we are launching the consultation on Anyone's next 5-year term as a business improvement district company. I think that what the businesses of Newcastle have achieved since they established Anyone back in 2009 has been nothing short of phenomenal. We've managed to bring in a significant amount of additional investment, tens of millions of pounds since we were established, as well as keeping the day-to-day elements with our rapid response clean team, our street rangers, our annual events programme and our marketing efforts. I think it's a remarkable offer on behalf of business, and it's absolutely focused on what they want. It is a hallmark of any great city that you have a vibrant and well-represented business sector. We've been proud to be that representative body since 2009, so I do think it's really important that the voice of business is heard at a civic level. I think that will be even more the case in the future. We've got some fantastic developments coming through. With that brings challenges but also opportunities, and we need to make sure that the voice of business is heard at the highest levels so we can really maximise the commercial opportunity.
Well, it's been a very interesting event, certainly from my perspective, and it's been great to hear about the plans for Newcastle City Centre. I'm going to go back to you now, Graham.
Thanks for that, Joss. Join us next week for the Northern Business Podcast. Never miss an episode. Like, rate and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.